teleprompter, create videos you're proud of. Easily trim your video by selecting the words where you want to start and end. Color your presentation with automatic subtitles and highlighting keywords. Add your brand logo. Add music for an emotional touch. Add your contact info on an animated business card on all your videos. Easily replace green screen with an image or a video loop. Stand out with a web page with your logo, your video at the center, and personalized button for visitors to interact. It's one tap to simultaneously upload your videos on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Always know what to say next with the Big View teleprompter.
Hey everybody, welcome to another Big View learning session. I'm so glad that y'all are here today. I am hanging out with you and we're going to have a fantastic session. If you have not ever figured out how to create content that converts, well, today is your session. Listen, let me see who's in the house. I see Natasha Elliott. Hey, Natasha, so glad that you're here. Valmar Figueredo. I guess I'm saying that right, from San Mateo. Okay. Yes, I'm glad that you're here. If you are in the comments, go ahead and just say hey so that I can say your name. Anna, Breeze, good to see you. Okay, love it, love it, love it. Listen, do me a favor. If you want to get in touch with me, head on over to getintouchwithrk3.com. Get in touch with rk3.com. I see you, Chris Cranston. And also, if you are a real estate agent or entrepreneur who is struggling with getting on camera and utilizing camera or video for your business, you want to jump into the video storytelling challenge with me. We're getting started with that today. As a matter of fact, today, right after the session at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can just go to videostorytellingchallenge.com. Sign up at videostorytellingchallenge.com. Who else do we have? Kelvin Mitchell. Hey, how you doing? Joel Steinberg. Good to see you. Sensei Seth Sharp. Good to see you. Richard Pirel, Mark Bolton, Mari Carmen Pizarro. Oh, love it. Garrick Davis, World Blue. Oh my gosh, we've got a lot of people in the house. I'm so glad that y'all are here. Do me a favor. If you've got a question today, as we go through this session with our expert, I want you to type the letter Q and then ask your question after that so that we can get some of your questions on the screen, okay? And we can ask our expert that question. We're also going to be having a giveaway today. Our expert today is going to be placing a link in the chat for all of those who are attending today's session, and you can apply for a specific consultation with her. You want to grow your Instagram, you want to make sure that your content is watched and connective and engaging, then connect with our expert today. Speaking of our expert, let's bring her on up. She is a best-selling author. She's an award-winning coach. She helps business to business, online service providers, VAs, consultants, social media managers, brand designers. She helps them get booked out on Instagram without spending a dime on ads. Oh, I got my guy still dancing. We're done with the dancing, dude. All right. Let's welcome our guest for today, our guest expert, LeeNor Dikel. I said it like a Spanish person. I didn't do my French pronunciation. LeeNor, how you doing?
I love the pronunciation. Thank you so much for the lovely introduction, Robert.
I love it. I love it. Listen, you help a lot of people with Instagram. Let me ask you a question really quickly before we jump into Instagram. There's all of the stuff happening in the United States with TikTok, right? And TikTok, some places are looking to ban TikTok. And if that happens, that means that there's probably going to be a lot more happening on Instagram, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
How should people be thinking right now about that?
Yeah, great question. And it's crazy because so much is happening so quickly, right? Like you can build your entire business on one platform and then all of a sudden regulations change everything, right? So that kind of brings me to the point of you should always have backups. Like you should never be just specifically on one channel. Even when you have your business on Instagram, you should always be getting people on your email list, right? It's always smart to have a backup, but especially when you know that such a thing is likely to happen, I would say be proactive, already start moving yourself slowly onto Instagram. So that way onto YouTube Shorts, whatever it is that you want to do, slowly start moving yourself. So that way that if TikTok does get blocked, you're already one of the first people that has now moved your platform and you're ready to go and nothing is going to hold you back.
Love it. Love it. So let's take about 30 seconds, 60 seconds. Let's talk about you for a moment. I introduced you. You work with VAs, you work with consultants, you work with social media managers. How did you get into this business of booking people out on Instagram?
Yeah, great question. So it was quite a journey. I've been in the entrepreneurship space for quite a while now. I'm doing lots of different things, e-commerce, coaching, etc. I originally actually started more in the success coaching field, but I missed the marketing aspect of it. I had started a marketing agency a couple of years before, and I figured the best way to combine the two would be helping people in the success coaching aspect of, the confidence they need to start their business, but then taking it to the next level by helping them actually market it. I love
Yeah.
Instagram, helping them market it through Instagram and get fully booked out without having to stress over spending that money on ads.
I love it. I love it. And I know a lot of people are going to love hearing what you've got to say today because we've been told that the only way to get eyeballs on our content, the only way to get engagement with our content is to not only get ads, but to, listen to those people that are sliding into our DM saying, "Hey, I can get you organic leads for only
Right,
$25. I can and grow your Instagram followers to 10,000 if you just give me
right.
$25." Right? So let's jump into your content here, and I'll turn this over to you. How do you help us, or how do we create powerful content that converts?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So I've created these slides for you guys, and I'm going to be going into everything in detail here. Crafting content that converts is not a simple formula. There's a lot that goes into it, right? So when you see content on the surface, when you're scrolling on your reels and you're watching other people's Instagram, it might seem simple because you don't know necessarily all the thought that's going into it, but it is actually a formula. You have to look at not only what do you want to create, but who am I serving and what do I want people to feel and get out of my content? So, in the following slide, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about how you can actually do that with your content. If we can go ahead and take a look at the next slide. Basically, what I want you to understand is in this presentation, not only are we going to be talking about creating content in terms of the aesthetics, but what goes into what you could call the back end of that content. And that is all of the thought and the procedure that goes into understanding as a business owner or as a content creator that's serving a specific audience. How do you get into the mind of your ideal audience or your ideal clientele? How do you understand them so deeply that when they see your content, they feel like your content is speaking directly to them? So we're going to be talking about your target audience, understanding their pain points, how you can create that clear and compelling message to speak directly to them. And then finally, how to not only do this in a simple way, but do it in a way that's persuasive and tells a story so your audience stays engaged. In the next slide, we are going to go a little bit further in detail. So, how do you identify your target audience? For those of you that don't know what that means, that is okay. This is a business term. It's something that you learn if you go to business school or marketing or any of that. But if this is the first time you're hearing it, just know it's simpler than it sounds. Your target audience is really just the person that you want to get in front of. So, as a business owner, a lot of times we are afraid to niche down, or as a content creator, right? Because we think if we're too specific, people are not going to stay on our page. They're not going to want to watch our content. They're not going to want to hear what we have to say because it's too specific. They're not going to get it and they're going to leave. But in reality, one of the best ways to actually capture attention is to niche down. Why? Because only when you understand who your audience is at that specific of a level, then can you really speak to that specific person, right? So, how do you do that? Well, you want to get really clear on what it is that you do. And based on what it is that you do, who is it that you're helping, right? Like, let's say, for example, you are a social media manager. Who are you a social media manager for? Are you managing the social channels of restaurants? Are you managing the social channels of influencers? Are you managing the social channels of consultants or of speakers? Or what does your target audience look like? Really dive deep into who you want to help. And one of the ways that you can start to do that is to look at maybe what it is that you know really well, or you're really passionate about, or even something that you are in a way, right? So you really want to look at something that is going to thrill you enough to keep you going. For example, if you don't care about restaurants at all, you're probably not going to want to be a social media manager for restaurants, right? Then think about what it is that you do care about, right? So get really specific on your niche based on what it is that you want to do every single day and what it is that you're good at, you're passionate about, and you know enough about. Once you do that, you're going to want to create what are called customer buyer personas. This is going to represent your ideal customer, clientele, follower, etc. So you're going to want to get really clear. Imagine you're creating a little person, right? So let's give this person a name. Let's say the person is Sarah, okay? What does Sarah look like? How old is Sarah? Where does Sarah live? What does she like? What does she dislike? Her demographics, her personality. Get really clear on who Sarah is as a person. And then when you create your content, you're going to want to tailor it to Sarah and people like Sarah. On the following slide, we are going to go more in depth, not only about the target audience, but about speaking to them via your USP, which is your unique selling proposition or unique value proposition. So once you know who you're serving, then you can figure out how you want to distinguish yourself to that person, right? Every individual has their own likes, their dislikes, their interests that are going to vary from everyone else, right? You want to figure out based on who you're projecting to, who you're creating content for, what it is that makes you unique for them. For example, there's some creators that, let's say, they are super aesthetic and their videos are on point. They have the most amazing transition. That's kind of their unique value proposition as a creator, right? You know them for, if I go to their page and I scroll through their reels, I'm going to be constantly entertained because they just have the craziest transitions, right? That's what is unique about them. As a business owner, it might look a little different, right? So let's say that you are a photographer, right? So another service provider in person this time. What is your unique selling proposition? What is it about you that you do different, right? Maybe your niche is weddings and you had a wedding yourself and you know exactly how the bride and the groom want to be captured in their scenario. You have this intuition for the art and the art form of photography and the angles and the positioning. And you just have that kind of intuitive feel where you connect with the bride and the groom. And that is your unique value proposition. Maybe your unique value proposition is that you grew up in the country and you specialize in country photography for weddings. So every time someone is getting married in the countryside, they go to you, right? Something that makes you unique. You need to identify this in order to create great content. Why? Because it's going to differentiate you from your competitors. So when you're creating content, you not only want to keep in mind who you're speaking to, but you also want to keep in mind what is it that makes you unique in the niche of the kind of person that you're speaking to. And you want to clearly communicate this in your content. Let's say you are a coach, and what makes you unique is that you're not just strictly professional and you don't come across in your marketing as very kind of straight. What you do instead is really show your full personality and show all sides of yourself and connect to your audience in a very human way. Even that in its own can be a unique selling proposition. You're so human, you're so real, you're so honest. That is going to connect, and that's going to connect with a certain kind of niche audience. And you want to just make sure you're continuing with this throughout your content. On the next slide, we are going to take a look together on appropriate content formats. So this is something that you can't do until you know who you're talking to and what makes you unique. Why? You are creating this content based on a certain audience. So you want to be able to speak to them in the way that they really relate to, right? Let's say you're working with maybe more of a senior audience and they're not as likely to be on video as photo content, then what you're going to want to do is more photo content. Or maybe as a photographer, you're going to want to do more photo content than reels. But as an influencer whose unique selling proposition is creating amazing transition, you're going to want to be more on video, right? So you have to figure out who your niche audience is, You have to figure out how you are speaking to them. And then you also have to figure out what it is that is unique about you that is going to speak to them. So use your video content to increase engagement, create visually appealing graphics and images, and then use storytelling to connect with your audience. So not only do you need to base this off of your USP and your niche, but what you also need to do is test, right? So we're going to talk about this in a further slide. But what I want you to know just in this slide is, yes, you do have to base it off of your audience and your unique value, but we're also going to look at analytics a little bit later just to make sure that the type of content you think is good for your niche really is working. Now,
Can
in
I
the
ask you a
next
question
slide,
quickly, Lenore,
of
before
course.
you jump on? When you talk about using video content to increase your engagement, what do you are you talking about all video content? Is it reels? Is it longer form content? And I know that some people don't necessarily know some of the rules of Instagram right now, how they've changed video content to all moving towards reels as opposed to how it was before. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, great question. So, when Instagram started, it was just pictures, and then they expanded, and then it was kind of these long form videos. And then in recent years, just in the past like 2, 3 years, they launched Reels after TikTok had so much success, especially during COVID. Initially, Reels was exactly the place you had to be because not many people were doing it. However, even though all that time has passed, it is actually still the place you want to be more than long form video content. Why?
Mhm.
Because long form video content almost never goes viral and it almost never reaches that larger audience because what people do is about 7 seconds is where our attention holds and then they keep going. Long form video content, that being said, though, is still important as a service provider, as someone, not as much an influencer, but as let's say you're just a consultant or a manager or whatever it is that you do want to have
Yeah.
some pieces of longer form content. Let's say you go live and then you upload it to your feed. But this is not going to be what's going to grab the attention and engage your audience as much as a short form reel.
Love it. Thank you for that.
Of course. Amazing. So this might also be one of those marketing terms that you're not 100% sure about. And if so, that's totally fine. So very quickly, I'll explain what SEO is. So SEO is called search engine optimization. Big fancy word for this is how we make sure we get more eyes on our content. So a lot of people think of SEO as something that happens just on Google, for example, something that you can put in your website as a blog to boost your website when people search. Yes, that's true. However, you can also, and this is a little known trick, but you can also use SEO on your Instagram. So there are a few ways to do this. The first way to do this is in your header on Instagram. So you know that like big bold text at the top of your Instagram and your bio where you put your name? I don't know if you've noticed, but so many people have been also putting their title next to their name. And the reason why this happens is they're not just saying, hey, this is who I am. They're actually optimizing their Instagram for SEO so that when you search something in Google, let's say you search virtual assistant for salons, let's say,
Mhm.
actually, this person who has their name, Sarah, virtual assistant for salon owners, will show up first because she has it in that big bold text where your name goes. And actually, just in the past few months, Instagram has changed their rules. So now you can add more text there than you could before, particularly for this reason. You also want to include SEO text in your bio. So, this is just where you talk about what it is that you do. This is partly for SEO and also partly just so that people can have a greater understanding of what you have to offer them if they follow you. But something that you're going to want to do is just include what we call keywords in your bio that are going to help people find your page. So, for example, if you are a virtual assistant for salon owners, you're going to want to think of some keywords that would be related to that and add them in the bio. So, for example, if you do the emails for salon owners, if you do the bookings for salon owners, anything that would be part of your job, include those keywords in the bio, of course, in a succinct way, and you could do more in your content. What's really impressive is that in very recent months, Instagram has also been including SEO actually, even when you don't write it. it senses the SEO in your content. So what used to happen in the past is you could only include SEO in your captions or your alt text. So your captions is just what you write underneath your reel or your post. And you use SEO the same way with your keywords, which you find related to what you're talking about, also in the hashtags, and also in the alt text. And the way to add alt text is before you upload, you click advanced settings, and then it will allow you to add your alt text, which is text that cannot be read by the human eye, but is read by the algorithm, so that when people search, your post will come up for that text, right? So let's say, for example, if you are a clothing store and you uploaded a picture of a model wearing a pink dress. Now, in the caption, you're going to write something about the beautiful pink dress that this model is wearing. You're also going to include hashtags like long pink dress, maxi dress, etc. But now you can even go edit, and in the alt text, you can write pink maxi dress, boutique pink maxi dress, and it will also come out for those reasons. And then finally, you can also include SEO in the reel itself or in the post itself. So let's say you are a consultant teaching people how to use AI. If in your posts you have different examples of how to use AI in the picture itself, Instagram is also going to read that as SEO. So there's tons of ways to do this: captions, hashtags, alt text in the post itself. You can try all the different ones. I would recommend using all of them. And this is just going to help you get your content in front of more eyes that would see it if it was just only your followers on your page.
Fantastic.
Okay. Amazing. If there's no more questions about that, I'll go to the next slide. And in this one, what I want to really tell you guys is, all of that being said, if you don't include a clear call to action, sometimes it's not even going to matter, right? Because as humans, with our small attention spans, it's just natural. A lot of times we follow this little path in our content. When you can see, if you think of your own self when you're watching content, for example, a lot of times you're just scrolling and you're liking and you're scrolling and you're liking, and there's really no like length of just staying on one post and staring at it, right? You're going pretty quickly, right? So if you're on a post and it's interesting and you read the caption and it's interesting, you're actually going to still keep going unless there's a call to action at the end of the caption. Why? Because that's what we do. When we're on social media, we scroll. And so the purpose of the call to action is to maintain you in that loop. A caption is going to include a hook, which is going to grab the attention of your audience. It's going to include the bulk of the text, which is going to explain and engage. And then at the end, you wrap up that cycle with your call to action, which tells people exactly what you want them to do with that post, with the knowledge. So let's say, for example, again, let's take the example of a store. So if you posted that pretty pink dress and you wrote a little caption about it, at the end, you don't want to just end it with nothing. You want to say, click the link in our bio to get free shipping today only, or some sort of call to action. Other examples are really just, click the link in the bio, send me a DM, right? Comment this emoji, anything that you are telling people to do that is easy enough for them to do and is going to let them know what the reward is at the end. So for example, it could be, comment your favorite emoji down below to win a photography session with me, or DM me help if you are a salon owner that needs a virtual assistant or thinks you need one, right? You want to include that call to action. Okay.
LeeNor, do you have any suggestions? I mean, you've given them some fantastic examples just now. Do you have any calls to action that you think work better than others? Because a lot of times I see people on Instagram or even YouTube Shorts, and their call to action is like, subscribe, or follow. Is there anything that you found that really works well as far as call to actions?
I would say the biggest thing about that is, like in the example that you just gave, it's so common to see that, right? But unfortunately, when we hear 3 different things we're supposed to do, we're less likely to do any of them than if we had only heard one, right? So
Right.
someone said like, subscribe, or follow, and you're like, which one do I do? Oh my gosh, I'm just gonna keep scrolling. It's too much pressure, right?
Right.
So what you wanna do is focus on one thing that you want your ideal audience to do. So for example, like if you're on an Instagram post, it would be like, comment if you related to this caption, or
Love it.
share this post with a friend who needs it. But always focus on one thing and make it very, very simple and easy to follow.
I love it. Fantastic. Thank you.
Of course. Okay, so we did bring this up a little bit earlier, but this is what I was mentioning about checking, right? So, as I said, with your content, with your USP, with your niche, which is again, you're basically the person that you're speaking to and what makes you unique, you can kind of get an idea of what kind of content you should be creating based on these information. So, for example, like I said, if you're a photographer, you're posting more pictures. You're also posting reels, of course, to show behind the scenes and that kind of thing. But it is picture focused. Whereas someone who is an influencer is going to be more on reels, etc. But you might think you know the answer to the kind of content you should be creating, but your audience is the one that really knows the answer. So at the end of the day, you always have to check what content is performing best. And the way that you do that is if you look at your Instagram, at the very, very top, right by your bio, there's something that says professional dashboard. And this is only if you have a creator or a business account. So make sure you switch your personal account to a creator or business account. And when you click professional dashboard, you can then click analytics. And this is going to allow you to look at all of the analytics of your audience. So where your audience is coming from, which countries, which cities, major ages, major genders, right? The percentages of each. You're going to see all this information, but even more in depth to that, you are also going to see what content is performing better. So you're going to see your top performing posts. It's going to show you likes and comments and the reach, everything that you need to know. And you're going to be able to over time see if it's either posts that are performing better or reels that are performing better, long form content. What is it that your audience specifically really wants to see? So it's really important that you look at that. In analytics, you can even see what time is best to post, right? So, or let's say, for example, if you find out your audience is 50% in the US, but 50% in Latin America, then you might want to start adding Spanish to your captions or vice versa, right? So, really use your audience insight to cater your content to your ideal audience. And by replicating more of what is already working, that's when you're going to start to see your account really growing. Amazing. Well, if there's no more questions on this slide, we can go to the next one. Here is my information. So I really hope you guys found all of that helpful. I know it was a lot. This is my marketing brain going off. So if you do have any questions, I want you to know, one, it's totally fine if you're new to this and you don't completely understand yet. You'll have the recording, you can go back over it. It takes moments, but really all you have to do is just apply one by one the pieces of knowledge. So start small. Start by just getting really clear on who it is that you want to talk to. Start by then focusing on how you want to talk to them and what makes you unique, etc. So start small. Don't try to do it all at once because then it gets overwhelming. And if you have any questions, here's my information. Life with LeeNor is my Instagram handle. And then my email is just LeeNor@lifewithleenor.com, which is my company. And I actually have a lot of freebies for all of these as well. So I have a target audience freebie, for example. I have a content creation freebie. So any help you need, don't hesitate to reach out. And you can also grab that link to apply for a free strategy session with myself.
Fantastic. Well, listen, we've got a little bit of time here, so I want to walk back through a couple of things. We did have at least a couple of people asking about SEO and really going through some more examples. I know you talked about utilizing the headline area
Yeah.
and adding keywords and titles there, and you talked about the descriptions and the captions and even the hashtags. Did you mention hashtags at all? Is that
Yes.
is that a strategy that we should still be using in a big way, or has it kind of like toned down and it's not as important as it used to be? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, oh, I love that question because you see so much controversy about this on Instagram, and you see
Mhm.
creators saying, "You don't need hashtags at all," and then you see some creators where they swear by it, right? And so I know it gets confusing, but what I would say is that the reason why some creators feel that hashtags don't work is they're using hashtags that are too big. So if you are a
Mhm.
small creator, and by small, it could even be 10K, 30K, if you're competing with a hashtag that has, let's say, 10 million uses, right? So if you're using hashtags that are like hashtag photo, for example, your content is
Right.
never going to show up under that hashtag. What you need to start doing is using niche hashtags. So let's say, for example, go back to the photographer example. If you are a photographer that shoots weddings in the countryside, then you want to say that hashtag countryside wedding photographer or hashtag countryside wedding or hashtag wedding photographer Austin, whatever it is that is very specific to you in the
Mhm.
hashtags, you want to do two things. You want to make them niche specific to who you are as a page because it's going to bring people to your page and to the post itself. So you want to both talk about the post and about yourself in the hashtags. Why? Because when people search in hashtags and your post comes up, it's going to bring them to your page in both ways. It's going to bring both people that are interested in what you have to offer in general and people who are interested in that specific thing that you're posting about. So, for example, if it's a maxi pink dress and someone searches that and they see your post, they might buy it, right? So, it's important to
Yeah.
include both.
So is it uh, from a strategy standpoint, there are some hashtags that it's like, yep. For example, if I do a show on motivation or something like that, and I type hashtag motivation, there are millions of
Right.
videos that have motivation in it.
Yeah.
How do I strike the balance between something that is not too high usage and something
Right.
that's not so low usage that nobody's
Right.
ever going to find it, right? What
Right.
is it? What's a really good way for me to figure out what keywords people are searching for, so that I can include that in my hashtag?
Yeah, great question. So there's two things that I would say. One is that the general rule is to do it in thirds. So one third
Mhm.
of your hashtags should be bigger hashtags, one third should be medium, and then one third should be really niche. Because there is a likelihood that the really niche ones are going to be found. For the bigger
Mhm.
ones, if that post were to go viral, it actually could be found. And for the medium one, that's where you're really going to get the most views. And by small, medium, and large, I just mean size. So a small hashtag might be like 1,000 usage, large might be a million, and then medium might be like 30K. So
Right.
about 10 of each. And then in terms of figuring out what to even say in the hashtags, the best advice that I ever received actually was don't think just in terms of like describing, but think in terms of what someone who wants to find you or that piece of content is going to search. That is absolutely the biggest one, and that's going to get you in front of the most eyes.
Love it. So, with regard to the hashtags and maybe even keywords, am I just using Instagram as my source to figure those out? Do I wait till I put a post and start typing the hashtag so that I could see the popularity of it? Or is there another resource or tool that I could be using to find relevant keywords?
Yeah, there is both. You can use Instagram. You can just go into either typing it or go into search and it will tell you how often it's been used. And then there are
Mhm.
also AI generated hashtag tools out there that will let you put together your hashtags based on your content. Some of them will even scan your content and help you. So if you are going to want to make the effort to go to a third party, then absolutely that's a great research. I would even just search hashtag generator for Instagram, and you're going to see plenty of options.
I love it. I love it. So I see somebody is asking about. We're kind of stuck on hashtags here for a moment. Somebody's asking, how many hashtags do you recommend in IG? I know that if you're on YouTube, YouTube is like you've got 500 letters or 500
Right.
characters that you can use in the YouTube area
Mhm.
for adding hashtags. Or let me not even use hashtags. I'll just say tags or keywords because a lot of times when we think about hashtags, a lot of people think about one word. Can you
Right.
talk a little bit more about maybe thinking in terms of phrases or search terms with regard to hashtagging?
Yeah, so what I would do on Instagram is vary it. So the top you can do is 30 hashtags, right? But you actually don't want to do 30 hashtags in every single post. It's
Mhm.
better to do 25 in some, 27 in some. I would say always have between 25 and 29 hashtags per post and then vary it. I don't know why it works that way, but the Instagram algorithm tends to like it better when there's variation. And also try not to use the same hashtag all the time. Not only want to
Mm.
vary the count, but you also want to vary which hashtags you use because Instagram's algorithm is really funny and sometimes it will actually kind of shadow ban you for certain hashtags or certain posts if you do it too many times because it's going to pick you up and think you're a scammer. So make sure that you're also adding variation into your hashtag strategy.
What about those hashtags that are Instagram specific, like IGers or um, you know, sellers of Instagram or whatever? A lot of people, whatever industry they're in, they put of Instagram at the end, hoping that Instagram will kind of pick that up. Do you have any recommendations around using hashtags that are common like that?
I honestly, I wouldn't suggest using of Instagram so much. I think that with the current algorithm changing all the time, it can be a bit of a waste of time. In the past, it worked much, much better, right? I mean, if you
Mhm.
look at Instagram 10 years ago, you could get 1,000 followers in a day by hashtags, right? But now what you really want to do is just focus on more like niche specific, like we talked about, rather than kind of using a word that we hope is going to catch on with Instagram because with the algorithm, you really never know what it's going to like. It's more important what people are going to like, what people are going to look for.
Golly, did you say 10 years ago? Instagram's been around for 10 years? I feel so old right now. I'm like, Instagram just came out like a
I
few
know.
years ago.
Barely 10 years, though. Barely 10 years.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. Well, let's talk. I mean, you talked a little bit earlier about video. So let's go back to it. I think video for me is core. It's close to my
Yeah,
heart. And you talked about
yeah.
creating powerful content that converts. So if I'm really
Mhm.
thinking about utilizing video as a big piece of my Instagram strategy,
Right.
um, what is it that I need to think about specifically as I'm
Yeah.
creating my content calendar or as I'm thinking about, what order do I need to do things? Do I just lean into my business? Do I do personal vlog style family videos? What are the types of content that I need to be thinking about from a video perspective that will convert even better on Instagram?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a bit of a combination of things. When you're creating your content, there's two things you want to look at. One is your content pillars,
Mhm.
and basically, to put it simply, your content pillars are the main, most important pieces of what you do put into content. So, for example, if you are, let's say, a social media manager for photographers, your content pillars might be social media hacks. They might be tips specifically for photographers. They might be a day in the life of a social media manager. There are different things that you're going to be talking about often and are important to show in your content. And then you're going to want to combine that with four things. These four types of content are really important and they're very easy to put into video content. So you have inspiring content or engaging content, promotional content, you
Mhm.
also have educational content. So, really quickly, engaging content is going to be more of what you first think of when you think of reels. So,
Right.
very short, trending, trending music, grabs your attention, cool transition, follows the trend. So this is engaging content. It's also important to have inspirational content, which tells your story, which connects with your audience on a personal level and a deep level that humanizes your brand. You also want to
Mhm.
have educational content, which is more like tutorials and the like. And then finally, promotional content, where you're straight up saying, this is what I can offer you. Let's hop on a call.
Yeah, that's that's awesome. So if I'm thinking about like you said, reels is kind of what you're talking about right now. And I'm not
Mhm.
somebody who is creative. I don't have Mr. Beast ideas or I don't have PewDiePie or I'm using YouTubers right now. I don't know who are the big Instagram influencers from a Reels perspective. But I don't have all of these creative ideas. What are some simple things that I can do to really begin to utilize video as a conversion strategy?
So, something that is really great about working in business and content creation in today's world is that we actually don't have to think about it and do it alone.
Mhm.
AI is becoming a really, really great tool to come up with video content ideas. So, what I would say is, if you feel like you're not someone who's super creative at coming up with these different ideas that are going to boost your content in the way you want, then ask AI. There's so many different platforms out there. You can even just use ChatGPT, which is the one that's most popular.
Mhm.
A quick little hack that's really great. Very briefly, I won't go into much detail. And if you need kind of a repeat, you can send me a message. But if you go into ChatGPT, which is just ChatGPT, it's an AI platform for those of you that don't know that you can converse with, that you can ask questions. And if you go in there and you use a prompt that says, act as my marketing manager, create a 30-day marketing plan in Reels for XYZ business, put it in
Wow.
table format, ChatGPT will actually create a 30-day marketing plan for your business. So if you can't come up with an idea, then you always have other options.
I hope you all just put a timestamp marker at this point of the video because that was gold right there. That was everything that you came to watch this video for right now.
Right.
That was awesome. I love that. All
Thank
right, so
you.
let me see if there's anything else in the chat that people are asking. People are asking about. Kevin says, Lenore, you spoke about niche for your target audience. Does this apply to my content as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you are creating content, it's really important that your content speaks to a specific target audience, right? Any single like content creator that you look at on Instagram is going to have some sort of niche, even if it's not super obvious right away, but usually it is, right? So you have fashion content creators, you have food content creators in the nutrition field, health and mindset, then you have more tech, right? Even content creators have a niche. So as a business, it's really important to kind of copy this model because what you're doing essentially is you're speaking so directly to one type of person, which is your ideal clientele, that
Mhm.
that person is going to be able to not only find your page because of that those specifics, but also is going to be driven to follow because they know that you are speaking to and directly helping them. Not everyone in the world, but them specifically.
Yeah, I love it. I'm gonna kind of go backwards here for a moment to video again and ask a specific question. But I see some people using this strategy, and I'm not sure how effective it is. I want to hear your thoughts about it. Using the remix option on
Mm,
on on Reels and Instagram videos. Um, what are your suggestions, or what is your guidance around
mm.
that?
Yeah, I would say honestly, remix is it's not my personal favorite. I think
Mhm.
that what really helps is when you stand out with your own original content. The goal is not to go viral. I think that's something that people really get confused. Yes, it's great if you do, but actually, when posts go viral, you don't really get that many followers from it anymore. You're just
Right.
getting in front of a lot of people with that one video, but the behavior has changed and people are a lot less likely to follow from a viral video because you see so many viral videos every day. When you're just scrolling through your reels, they're all viral. A lot of them are viral. You're not following every single creator, right? So the goal is not to go viral. The goal is to be original. So I would say be careful when you remix.
Yeah.
If you can remix in a way that puts your own twist onto an interesting video and makes it even better, 100% go for it. But if you're kind of just remixing to show yourself watching their video or maybe do the same thing, it's not necessarily going to be as beneficial for you as a creator or business owner because it doesn't show your unique spark, your unique value proposition.
Yeah, I had to ask that because I came across this channel where this guy, he's literally sitting at a restaurant eating, and he just remixes a bunch of videos. We're watching him eat, and the content is playing in the window beside him. And I'm like, okay, is how effective is that? Hopefully he's not watching this big deal. We're not talking about him bad. We're not talking about you bad, sir. We're just making sure that the people have good strategies here.
Yeah,
And if your strategy is one that works, then we'll suggest it. All
yeah.
right.
I
So
love that.
uh
That's so funny.
we have somebody that is asking a question. Chioma is asking, how do you create content, engaging content that converts to leads as an image consultant? So I think that's more specific to their industry. I don't know that that is any different than some of the stuff that you were suggesting earlier, but maybe you can kind of repeat and put yourself in the image consultant shoes, or if an image consultant hired you, what would you share?
Yeah, so I would say that it really is a formula, right? So no matter what your niche or your audience is, the formula is the same. One important thing is that to be engaging, you want to make sure again that you are speaking specifically to your ideal target audience. So as an image consultant, you need to get very clear on who it is that you're serving and then make sure that you're using the messaging, which is basically how you would speak to your ideal client in your reels. So some things that you could create are to clear out doubt. So, not everyone knows what an image consultant is. So, in some of your reels, you're going to want to explain that actually and show that. And you can do that in an engaging way. You can do it by using trending audios. You can do it by, those videos where people like pointed rather than speaking, right? Or whatever it is, if it's a trend where people do like a, different little dances, but make it to your niche so that way you're
Yeah.
answering questions that your ideal target audience will have, and you're also showing them how you can help them. So answer questions about what it is and also show them like what a day in your life as an image consultant would look like, what is the behind the scenes of the work that you do so people can get in the shoes of your basically who might be a client and
Yeah.
imagine what life as your client would be like, what kind of work you're doing for them, right? So the main point is when you're creating engaging content, what you want to focus on is you want to focus on the experience your ideal client is going to have when they go on your Instagram page. Are their questions answered? Do they connect with you on a human level? Because marketing is moving towards that trend of humanizing brands, right? And do they understand exactly how it is that you can help them? This is one of the biggest mistakes I see from my clients when they first start from me is they're posting, these dances and these trends and they're trying to get out there and it's fine, but they're not even telling their ideal client what it is that they can do for them. So someone comes to your page and they think you're funny or you're cute or you're interesting, but they're not going to hire you because they don't even know how you can help them. So that's another thing you want to make sure that you are also bringing up in your content.
Love it. Love it. One last question here. So, somebody is just starting out. They're a brand new business owner, a brand new entrepreneur. They're just getting into Instagram. You referred several times to the questions that your ideal client might have. How do you recommend to your clients, where would they find, how do they quickly find those ideal questions so that they can begin to create content around those?
Yeah. So what I would do is I would first deep dive into your ideal client avatar.
Mhm.
Really, why this is so important is because when you're in that process of niching down, you're not just describing like their hair color or their city, you're also describing who they are as a person. So, what are their likes and dislikes, but also what do they struggle with? What are their
Yeah.
aspirations, right? So, let's say, for example, there's a school teacher who is looking for a virtual assistant, right? Because, as a teacher, you're working at school and you're taking homework home and you're answering emails and you're doing so much. So the helping hand could be, well, helpful, right? So let's say you're a school teacher looking for a virtual assistant. You want to really, if that's your ideal clientele as a virtual assistant, you want to deep dive into what that school teacher needs from you, right? Like, what is it
Yeah.
that they struggle with? What is it that keeps them awake at night? What questions would they have for you? And you want to get into the mind of your ideal client. And from
Mhm.
there, think about what is it that if I were a school teacher that I would want to know about someone that could potentially help me? I would want to know how they could help me. I would want to know why I should trust them. I would know how they can save me time. I would know what is the benefit versus the cost, et cetera, et cetera. So get into the shoes of your ideal client. And then from there, from their eyes, from their perspective, then you can start to understand what it is that they would want to know from you. And you can also, even once you build enough of a following, survey your audience. So, put a little question sticker on your story and say, what do you need help with? What do you want to know? And then you can start to slowly gather up some of that market research as well.
I love it. This is gold. This is fantastic. Listen, I know that 50 minutes has not been enough to go super deep into all of this, but if you replay this session, I'm sure that you'll find enough content, enough information to give you a good strategy to get started with your Instagram or your social media overall, creating content that is powerful, creating content that drives people towards a place where you can use them as leads, right? That converts. That's the word that I'm looking for. So go ahead and bookmark this, do whatever you've got to do with this content, rewind it. LeeNor, this has been fantastic. She is also, if you look in the comments, I believe our producer put that in the comments, she's offering a free strategy session. So if you want to apply for a free strategy session where you can dive a little bit deeper with her, a little bit further than where we've gone in this session, go ahead and click on that link in the chat and she will get that information and she will begin to parse through and she'll contact you so that you can set up a time for that free strategy session. This has been fantastic. My goodness. I'm so glad that y'all have been here for another amazing Big View learning session. Come back next time for another one. If you want to get connected with me, you can go to getintouchwithrk3.com. I'm also inviting you to join us for our video storytelling challenge starting today. Go to videostorytellingchallenge.com. But the biggest thing that you got to do is get with Big View. All right. I'll see you next time.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Robert. Bye.
Storytellers, thanks for joining me on the session. I'm so pumped that we were connected, and I hope you found real value in what was shared. Do me a favor. I want to continue the journey with you. Head on over to RK3 That's Me. That's right, RK3That's.me. On that page, you'll find all of the different places on the interwebs that you can get connected with me. And there are also some great resources for you to download. Download them because they're designed to help you become better presenters, better communicators, and video storytellers. And that's what we need more of in this world, right? Listen, get connected, go to RK3 That's Me. I'm RK3, and I hope to see you in my inbox.